Hey everyone, Andrew here, bringing you another video review, and today we're going to be doing my comic load for the week, minus two comics. I don't have G.I. Joe or Harley Quinn's Gang of Harleys in here, mostly because I'm not caught up on them, but besides that, it's the full comic load. And we have a lot of Rebirth to talk about, as well as the regular titles. So we might as well just jump right into it. And we're going to start where we always start, with a little bit of Batman in our life, with Detective Comics issue number 934. You heard that right, 934. We're going back to the original numbering of Detective Comics. And when New 52 happened, I always thought, for the most part, that Detective in Action shouldn't have been renumbered, but hey, they're going back and they're fixing it. And the basic gist of this story is simple. Azrael, if you remember who Azrael is, the new Azrael, which is the old Azrael but new, basically Jean-Paul Vallée, who was reintroduced in Batman and Robin Eternal, is being hunted. And eventually he is saved by Batman, but we don't see who is hunting him. But Batman comes to the conclusion that everyone's being watched by this evildoer, and that he wants to bring a team together, not only to hunt down this evildoer, but more or less to protect each other, to train the younger generation. Because, well, I'm pretty sure Red Hood and Nightwing can handle themselves because, well, they're Red Hood and Nightwing. Some of the younger generation may not be as capable. So Batman goes to a trusted ally in order to help him with this. He goes to Batwoman. After a little bit of back and forth and a bit of exchange between the two, Batwoman agrees to do so. And they bring into this fold a couple of disciples, trainees, new recruits, a couple other things. Basically, they have Tim Drake, Red Robin, who is in a more of a classic Robin costume, more of an updated version of his original one. Then we bring in Spoiler, and we bring in Orphan, who's Cassandra Cain, and then we bring in Clayface, which is kind of the odd pick of the bunch, which, when this title was first announced, I was a little shocked at, but it kind of works out with what the issue brings to the table. And basically, Batman says to all of them, hey, listen, me and Batwoman, we're going to train you, and let's make this clear, we're partners. It's not me in charge and Batwoman's working with me. It's she and I are training you, and basically what we're doing is we're going to be teaching you how to defend yourself, how to become better than you are. And by doing so, we're also going to work together to become more of a close net family, because the Bat family, while is large, isn't necessarily strong. With that said, good, bad, whether or not you should get an overall ranking, I would give this a 5 out of 5. I love the character interactions. I love the setup of the story. The art was great. The dynamic between the characters are good. Batwoman gets kind of some props in here. She figures out some things, which I don't want to reveal, but you kind of can figure it out on your own. That shows that she's pretty smart. In addition to that, I like the fact that she told Batman right off the bat, yo, listen, we're partners in this. I'm not going to be a subordinate. And I think the choices are good. You know, Tim Drake, Stephanie Brown, Cassie Kane, all of them there, that it makes a good team. And Clayface too, but I'm still on the fence about Clayface. The introduction of him into this was pretty nice, but I don't know how he's going to play out in the overarching story. Which is a fun fact, this isn't the first time Clayface has worked with Batwoman. They worked in her original title. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, 5 out of 5 stars. Really welcoming, really open to new readers. You don't need to know anything about these characters beforehand. If you're just getting into DC Comics, you don't need to know who Cassandra Cain is. You don't need to know who Stephanie Brown is, or Tim Drake, or Batwoman. I mean, it basically gives you the gist of the information here, and it's a nice jumping on point for Batman fans. The overall story was fun, and just in general, enjoyable. Definitely a must pick up. Moving on to Action Comics 957. Had a little bit of a tongue twister there, kind of, I don't know, mess up. 957. So again, we're going back to the original numbering. This is kind of continuing where things left off with Superman Rebirth. And basically, Lex Luthor is taking out the mantle of Superman. He's saying, yo, Superman, he was my bro. He was my one and only. And I'm going to wear his S, and I'm going to protect Metropolis for you, because I'm the new Superman. Of course, Super Daddy, or pre-New 52 Superman, is like, I don't trust Lex. I know my Lex. My Lex was a murderer, a cheater, a stealer. He was a psychopath, and he just did bad things. So Superman flies out to handle with Lex, and Lex is like, listen, I don't know who you are. You look older than my Superman. You ain't my Superman. And he goes, well, listen here, bruh. You and I are going to have a little discussion, and you're going to take off that shield. And then a fight between them ensued. While this is going on, there's also some little commotion in the background that might involve a big bad from Superman's past. Good, bad, whether or not you should get it. The good, I think Lex is portrayed pretty cool here, and you know what I like about this Lex Luthor? He tries hard to be a hero. He's still Dick. He's still kind of a sociopath, but he tries hard to be a hero. And what's interesting is that while this is going on, you see the contrast between him and Superman, and how this Lex Luthor is completely different from the Superman's Lex Luthor he dealt with. Which brings me to the big bad of the story, which it is two. One is, this is very much for Superman fans. It's not an easily accessible comic for people. I don't feel it's a good jumping on point for people, because it's confusing. Who's Superman? Who's the real Superman? How's it going to work? I'm going to actually do a separate video talking about my thoughts in detail about the New 52 versus pre-New 52 Superman. But it gets to another thing. Superman's kind of a dick in this. Like, Lex is saying, yo, dude, you have no right to come here and tell me what I can and cannot do. If I want to wear this S, if I don't want to protect these people, I'm going to. And then Superman unprovokedly attacks him. And then the fight ensues. And Lex is like, listen, dude, let's go somewhere else to talk about this. Let's not get anyone hurt. Like, Lex was the voice of reason, and Superman was kind of a dick. Which is interesting, because that's what everyone complained about the New 52 Superman, is he was kind of a dick. So it's kind of interesting how Superdad is being portrayed here. On a whole, I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5 stars. I like Lex in this. I like the overall story that's going on. I don't like how, Superdad was portrayed in this. He was portrayed better in Superman Rebirth rather than Action Comics Rebirth. And on a whole, I don't think it's a good jumping on point for people. Not as accessible as some other comics. So, 3 out of 5. My Girl, Wonder Woman, Rebirth, issue number 1. The basic gist of this issue is Wonder Woman has to come to some realization that her life has been full of lies. There's some truths that are actually lies. Is she the daughter of Zeus? Is she made of clay? Did she win a tournament to go to Man's World? What happened in Man's World? Was it Ares that provoked her? Was it something else that provoked her? This is kind of a mix-up of continuity where we don't know what's true and what's not. What's pretty clear is in her new 52 garb, she's looking at the war helmet, or the helmet of Ares, and crushes it and said, you know what? This shouldn't have been crushed. Something's going on. And she travels to Olympus to find out the truth. Good, bad, whether or not you should get it. Well, my boy Rucker is back, swinging like a madman. This has interesting, awesome story all over it. I'm really curious to see where he goes. He's trying to clean out the Wonder Woman mythos while at the same time not change it too much. I hope he keeps Zeus as the father of Wonder Woman. But with that said, there's a lot of fun questions that are risen. Not annoying questions, but kind of like, oh, how's this going to go? Where's Wonder Woman go? What truths are real truths and what truths are actually lies? So fun stuff with that. Bad. The only bad I could say is I don't think this is the best jumping on point for Wonder Woman. I still think Brian Azzarello did a better job with his New 52 run in his issue number 1. But with saying that, I have a feeling that issue number 1 might be a better jumping on point for Wonder Woman fans, or people that want to be interested in Wonder Woman. But on the whole, this is a great issue. It's going to get a 4 out of 5 stars. Really good. Next is my boy Barry Allen, Flash, issue number 1. So this dives a bit into what happened with Rebirth with Wally West, as well as other stuff. Is kind of touching upon, Barry's starting to get flashbacks and premonitions of the future. The Speed Force is talking to him. Like, geez, the Speed Force can do about anything. It can give people visions, gives them superpowers, it can make them mocha lattes. Like, there's nothing the Speed Force can't do. and he's seeing different people. He's seeing Eobard Thawne, or Professor Zoom. He is seeing the new villain, which is Godspeed. He's seeing a lot of different things happening while working on a case that is very reminiscent to his mother's case. And that's the basic gist of this comic. It's kind of more setup than anything. Good, bad, whether or not you should get it. Good, I love the continuation of the moments with Wally, because we get that moment that we had in Rebirth, but we get to see a little bit more afterwards. What I find interesting about this is I'm a fan of the Flash show, and this is doing enough to kind of make it feel like the Flash show, which at the same time making it still feel like the comic and separate. You're not going to see Caitlin Snow and Cisco Ramon walking around here, but it does have kind of that tone to it, which is good. I mean, this should be separate from the show. It should have its own feel. It's the comic book. It's the source material. But I think it's taking the good stuff from the show and bringing it in there, which is the drama and the intensity and kind of that almost CW feel. I hate saying that. With that said, it would have been nice with this that we had a bit more, and this is something with Flash in general that I think they should work on, is have a bit more of supporting characters. It's nice having his dad. It's nice having the Central City PD, but it would also be nice to see some other characters come in there, like Elongated Man, or maybe Jesse Quick, or, I don't know, throw any names out there. With that said, this issue is good. It's a good jumping on point for people, but it doesn't jump into the story that much. I mean, he gets some visions, stuff like that. The one thing I can say that's really nice about this, and I personally like, because I have a hard-on for anyone named Batman, is the fact that we get a little bit of Batman and Barry Allen working together, and kind of seeing the relationship between those two, not just as Justice Leaguers, but as friends and kind of, colleagues. They're both detectives. They both use science. It's kind of cool. So yeah, in saying that, I will also get this a 4 out of 5 stars. The story could have been a little bit better at telling me what's going to happen, but besides that, I'm digging what Flash is bringing to the table. And the last of the Rebirth issues is going to be Aquaman Rebirth issue number 1. If anything at all, this is really reestablishing what Aquaman is. Who is he? He's a king of Atlantis. He's a member of the Justice League. He is a hero for the people. And he's also the hero of the Atlanteans. What does he represent? Is it truth, justice, the American way? Is it about relationships between the sea world and the mainlands? Like, what does he represent? It kind of delves into all the stuff that has been poked fun at with Aquaman. All he does is talk to fish. But no, he has more powers than that. While also kind of reintroducing his Aquaman family, which I'm glad to see is growing. We see Mira, we see Tempest, we see what's his name, Mocha, Merc, or whatever his name is, the dude with the harpoon hand. So we get to see a lot of reestablishing of Aquaman, as well as hints to what's going to come, because Black Manta's back, and boy, does he not look happy. He looks peed off, as he always is. Like, the guy never smiles. He has resting bitch face. Let's just be honest with that. With that said, Aquaman gets a 5 out of 5. While it doesn't do overly too much in the story, it does more hints than anything, it does a very good job as a jumping on point for people. This is really kind of saying, hey, here's the package. This is what we're presenting to you. Here's Aquaman. This is what he looks like. This is what he does. This is his family. Enjoy. So it's a good jumping on point for people. Next is Green Lantern Corps End of Oblivion issue number 6 of 6. So the Corps finally beat the big tentacle monsters, or the Beholders, whatever you want to call them. A little D&D reference there. And then they make their way back to our world, our universe, or their universe, their real universe, the universe after the universe they're in. Yeah, I had high hopes for this because I really wanted them to detail how the Green Lanterns were going to come back, but it was kind of left off on a cliffhanger. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. This comic has kind of lost my interest a bit. Still good writing, still some good action, but on a whole, I think it could have ended better. But let's talk about something that did hold my attention: Legends of Tomorrow, or DC Legend of Tomorrow, if you kind of put that in there. But again, this is continuing Metamorpho, Firestorm, the Metal Men, and Sugar and Spike. The only story I really don't care about is Sugar and Spike, but I've been enjoying Metal Man, Firestorm, and Metamorpho endlessly. I think all of them have something good bringing to the table. I love Rex Manson, the Elemental Man. I love what he is. I like this new story, that's this new origin for being told from. The Metal Man have that really good Silver Age sci-fi stuff, and they reintroduced Red Tornado in this comic. So it was actually issue number 3 that they did, but hey, read the rest of them. And Firestorm is also continuously fun. The only one I can't comment on is Sugar and Spike, because I really don't have any inclining to read it. I know that sounds bad, but I tried to read it, and it just didn't hold my interest, not my cup of tea. And saying that, Legends of Tomorrow continues to be a really fun book, worth the $7.99 price tag. A lot of people will be like, do you really think it's worth the $7.99 price tag? And I say, yes. It does a fun job with these characters, and it almost has a little Silver Age touch to it, but keeping it nice and modern. And, well, many people say these are out-of-continuity stories. They're very much in continuity. I don't know why people say that. Maybe they may not line up timeline-wise to other stories, but, Cyborg and the rest of the Justice League show up there. Story arcs and threads that were left off on other stories are picked up here. So, yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying this series, and I'm going to give this a 4.5 out of 5. The bromance have ended in Red Hood and Arsenal issue 13. This is, I believe, the last issue for this comic, and basically Red Hood goes to save Arsenal, and in the ensuing battle, the two finally decide, hey, yo, bruh, it's time for us to go separate ways. Which, the good with this is Lobdell does a good job with staying true to the characters in their form. I like the way that they split and they go their separate ways, because it does happen. Don't give me that look. The new Red Hood and the Outlaws has been, told to us as Red Hood, Artemis, and Bizarro. And we all know our boy Roy Harper, goes to the Titans, which I think he has a good fit for there. I'm interested to see how he goes there. But it ends up pretty good, and on a whole, it's despite the fact that it felt a little rushed on the ending, it was still a pretty decent issue. 3.5 out of 5. Black Canary, issue number 12. Also, what I believe is the last issue. We're going to have a lot of last issues the next few months because, well, Rebirth is happening. Basically, Black Canary is fighting against evildoers and succeed, and then she ends her tour. That's about it. 3 out of 5. Actually, 2.5 out of 5. Well, it did do a fun stuff with it going into the future, where her life could go. I just wasn't interested. And by the end of the comic, I'm like, okay, can't wait to read her in Green Arrow. Nothing against the creative team on it, just I wasn't feeling it. You know what I was feeling? I'll tell you. Constantine Hellblazer, issue number 13. Again, last issue of the series. And I'm not going to reveal too much of it, but if you've been reading Constantine, you're going to enjoy this. Basically, as with Constantine, he saves the day and wins the day, but as always, he loses something. And it's just it's nice how it's done. I enjoyed this series that was going on with this creative team. I am interested to see where Constantine is going to go from here. I know he's going to be teaming up with Swamp Thing in the Rebirth issues, but this I'm going to give a very generous 5 out of 5. I can't think of anything bad about this. This is everything Constantine does and does well. Earth 2 Society, issue number 13. I've really fallen out of love this book. There were some elements of the book that I liked, but there's just, I feel like Earth 2 should have never been blown up and rebuilt. This is so stupid. With that said, there's a chance to bring Earth 2 back to what it was. Kind of a reboot button. And I won't go into detail of what it is, but it's actually an interesting proposition that is brought to the wonders of this world. But I want to know where this story is going, because I don't know if this title is getting canceled. It has to be, because DC wants to put everything back on issue number 1. But I don't know how far the solicits go. Again, 2 out of 5. Really kind of boring with what's going on with the story. No hate against the creative team. I know they're trying the best they can, but Earth 2 stopped being interesting a long time ago. Let's be honest. And finally, Darth Vader, issue number 21. Darth Vader is after the good doctor and sending his little robot friends after them. 000, and I forget what the astromech droid is called. And basically a fight ensues, and while this is going on, Vader's going after the people that betrayed him. That's the gist of it. Vader has been a very good comic thus far. I think I've enjoyed it more than the standard Star Wars comic. But in saying that, this issue I'm going to leave with a 3 out of 5. It was a little boring. I think it was just because a lot was happening. They should have just done focus on one thing rather than two. I'm starting to lose love with the Doctor character. Just kill her and get on with it. We know she doesn't make it past this comic. Let's be honest here. But with that said, my pick of the week still goes to Detective Comics issue number 1, or Rebirth special. No, it's not issue number 1. It's 934. Jeez, silly me. But my vote goes to this. It was a solid read through and through, and definitely a good definition of what Rebirth is. Which Rebirth is still kind of confusing me. I'm a little confused. I'm a little bit confused on what they're approaching with Rebirth, because part of me is saying, well, this is a way to get in new readers because DC needs new readers, but at the same time, this alienates all the readers that they had from the New 52, particularly stuff like Superman. Which goes into my next thing. Is this supposed to be bringing in old readers, and is this enough to bring in old readers? It's kind of confusing on how they're approaching this, because with stuff like Detective Comics is very new reader friendly, where stuff with Action Comics is very not new reader friendly. Like if I gave it to one of my buddies and I'd be like, read this, they'd probably be like, what the fuck is going on? Why is Superman making reference to himself dying? It just wouldn't make sense. Now I am going to do a separate video talking about my thoughts on New 52 Superman versus pre-New 52 Superman and how Rebirth should have handled that. That's, again, another video for another time. But I am curious to see exactly how Rebirth is going to go and how it's going to be handled. Because although I've been enjoying the titles, and I have, I'm a long-term committed comic book fan. I'm in this relationship. It's like a marriage, for better or for worse, sickness, health, for richer or poor, till death do us part. Like, I'm in this for the long haul. But some people may not. And that's my fear that DC might be doing, is are they alienating the new fans from the New 52 and not getting back the old fans? That's the big question. But sales speak for itself. Like, Rebirth has been doing well sales-wise, at least last month, so we'll have to see what goes on. With that said, I am going to end this video here. This is Andrew saying peace out for now.